Hello everyone! Because it is still spooky season, we're going to continue with another 3 spooky or scary stories. So if you are easily scared, this isn't the video for you. And if you haven't watched the last one, I suggest you do. I hope you all enjoy these videos. Leave your appreciation in the comment section or with a like. Good luck. This took place a while ago. I was 13 and my family had just moved to a new town. A new friend of mine from school, I made plans to go trick-or-treating together. At the time, I remember thinking I was a bit too old to still be trick-or-treating, but who doesn't want free candy? My friend and I figured we still had 1 year of trick-or-treating left in us. Because we were 13 and lived in a fairly safe neighbourhood, my parents thought it was fine for us to trick-or-treat together without adult supervision. Everything was going great and we were having fun getting some solid candy. Then we rang on one guy's doorbell. The porch light was on and there was a pumpkin or two, so we figured the people in the house were likely to be handing out candy. A middle-aged man opened the door. At first I was glad because he was dressed in a costume and happy to see my friend and me, so I felt we were in for some top-tier candy. I don't even remember what candy he handed out, but I do remember what happened next. He asked us to enter into his house, which is weird, but we were 13, so we didn't really think anything of it. Then he asked if he could take our photo. He said he always liked to take photos of the kids every Halloween, because he loved seeing the costumes. On one of his walls were a bunch of pictures of different random unrelated children in Halloween costumes. At this point, even being a dumb 13-year-old, I was starting to get kinda creeped out, but I figured it was just best not to upset the man and let him take the picture and then we could leave. So he snaps the photo of us and then he pulls out a clipboard with a sheet of paper on it with a bunch of names, written in childish handwriting. He says he likes the kids, whose pics he snaps to sign their names so he can know who they are. At this point, we were both mega creeped out. We should have just ran away, but we were too conditioned not to be rude. I decided to sign a fake name. He looked at the paper, looked back up at me, and then down to the paper. Then he repeated the fake name I'd given and nodded. Luckily, after that he didn't do anything and we were free to leave, but it definitely creeped us both out. At the time I thought he was just an eccentric guy, but as an adult looking back on the story, it seems much more sinister. I'm so glad nothing bad happened to us, and I hope nothing bad happened to any other kids. Halloween, with all these costumed kids trick-or-treating in the dark and minimal parental supervision, could be a great opportunity for predators to get kids alone in their homes, with no one knowing their kids' whereabouts. Please stay safe out there, and happy Halloween. For a bit of context, I work at a gas station in the backwoods of Tennessee, and that is where this happened. Last night, when I clocked in at 8, the store was completely dead. I figured it was going to be a pretty easy night because the road this station is on is not the main road. Actually, it used to be up until a decade ago when a new freeway was built. This led basically every business that was here to pack up and leave their old buildings abandoned. Thanks to this, there are a lot of abandoned buildings on this stretch of road, and local druggies tend to claim them as their own. Anyways, around 11, I only had an hour left of my shift, and so I figured I should actually get some work done instead of just sitting around and doing nothing. I'm 18, and so I work the shift alone, which is nice because it means I can do pretty much whatever I want. I noticed we were almost out of barbecue chips, and so I need to go and get them from our storage space, which is for some reason in the basement of this station. I've always hated going down there just because it gives me the creeps, Why the owner decided to store everything down there is beyond my comprehension. I got about halfway down the steps before something fell on the other side of the room, and it sounded like footsteps were coming my way. I sprinted up the stairs and locked the door to the basement, panicking like a madman the entire time. When I got back upstairs, I went behind the counter to the store computer so I could check the security cameras. I flicked over to the one that looks into the basement, and there was this guy just standing there, smiling up at the camera. He had a look of absolute insanity in his eyes, but he didn't look like the average junkie in the area. He was clean shaven and dressed what looked to be jeans and a button-up of some kind. Honestly, if he walked into the store, I wouldn't have batted an eye, but because he was down there, and because he was just looking into the camera smiling, it shook me to my core. I called the store owner, and at first, he was pretty mad I called him in the middle of the night, but once he heard how freaked out I was, his tone changed. He told me he'd be there in 15 minutes, and just to lock the main door to the store and make sure the man didn't go anywhere. I asked if I should call the police, but for some reason, he didn't want me to do that just yet. I locked the entrance to the gas station, and I went back to looking at the man. He was still there, just smiling up at me. About 3 or so minutes of him staring at me later, and he walked out of view of the camera. My boss showed up soon after, armed with a shotgun, and when I let him in, he immediately went to the basement. I went with him, just because I felt safe with him being there. Once we got there, all we found was nothing. My boss ultimately chalked this up to me being tired and hallucinating the man, but I know what I saw. This has scared me shitless, as I clock back in to work in a few hours, and I'm really dreading it. I recently was on Indeed looking for a new job. I finally quit that one dead-end job everyone has at one point. Anyways, I was scrolling through and I found a graveyard shift security position opening. It was at an abandoned hospital in my hometown. I applied for it. Following the next day, I got a phone interview. My first shift was the next night from 10 PM to 7 AM. I left about 9 PM the next night. As I pulled up to the hospital, I saw a person next to the hospital entrance waving at me. I got out and shook his hand. It turned out to be my new boss, Matt. "Hey Nick, are you ready for your first shift?" "Yeah, I think I am. I'm kind of nervous actually." "You'll be fine. Just check the cameras, make your rounds, and follow the company rulebook. Your equipment is in the office." "Okay, cool. Rulebook?" "Yeah, just in case of break-ins, etc. Company policy, to have everything written down for every situation." Matt then looked at his watch. "I should get going. Good luck with your first shift." As Matt left, I went into the hospital and found the security office on the 3rd floor. I put on my uniform, picked up a flashlight and a baton, and sat down in the chair. I noticed the rulebook, and I curiously opened it. I wish I knew then. I wish I had left the rules were basic until they weren't. Rule 1. At the sign of a break-in, do not approach suspects. Contact the authorities and then your supervisor. Rule 2. If you see a woman wandering the 3rd floor of the cameras, hide under your desk. You will hear sobbing. Stay under the desk until you don't hear the sobbing. Rule 3. If you hear hoarse breathing from behind you on the 2nd floor, stop, close your eyes, say "Go back to your room, Mr. Johnson," count to 10, and if the hoarse breathing stops, you may continue. Rule 4. You may hear a fire alarm on the 2nd floor. If this happens, run back to your office on the 3rd floor. You will be hunted. Close the office door and grab the cross from the desk drawer. Sit down with the cross and repeat, "In the name of God, I command you to leave," until the fire alarm stops. Rule 5. You cannot leave until 7 AM. I thought it was some kind of hazing. I put the book back and decided to make my rounds on the second floor. At 11, I was about to make my way back to the office when I heard it. The horse breathing. I froze. My blood went cold. I immediately remembered the rulebook and closed my eyes. "Go back to your room, Mr. Johnson," I said, and I counted to 10. The horse breathing stopped, and I turned around, expecting to see Matt playing a prank on me. There was no one. It was now 12 AM, and I was checking the cameras. I was still freaked out about what happened on the second floor. I decided to memorize the rules just in case. At 1 AM, I saw it. The woman on the camera, sobbing and walking towards my office. I hid under the desk. I was under there for an hour. I heard banging on the door and sobbing. And then, like that, nothing. 3 hours went past. Uneventful, thank God. Which brings me to about 15 minutes ago. It is now 5 AM, and I was on the second floor when it happened. The fire alarm went off. I tripped on something and sprained my ankle. I had no choice but to go into the nearest room to hide. My battery is low. As I'm typing this, I can hear it. It is hunting me. I don't think it knows where I am yet, but that might change soon. I hear it getting closer. And those were the stories. I hope you enjoyed them and didn't find them too scary. Remember to take extra safety for your friends and family this Halloween season. And don't have nightmares. Thanks for watching.